Hi, it's Jay Priest, and welcome to video 3 of my senior thesis progress video series. This one's just going to be a real short one. I just did a couple things. Every time I make new progress, I feel like I need to, oh, that would be a really cool thing to show people. So, kind of as I go along here, different things that I think might be interesting for somebody to watch and view the workflow of. I'll just go ahead and make these kind of smaller updates. So for this, I finished the stucco material on the walls on the outside of the house, and I went ahead and actually did it procedurally through Substance Designer. And this is basically it. And like I was talking about before, I have access to a couple different attributes that I can adjust kind of on the fly within Unity. And actually, I believe you can actually do it in the game engine too, and kind of animate them if you needed to. For this, of course, I won't actually need to do anything like that. But so right here, I have the kind of stucco material that I made, and if you look over here on procedural properties, I've exposed the cracked depth color and the normal depth. So basically what I have is the ability to kind of on the fly choose how dark I want those crevices to be, and also separately I have the ability to kind of create really really extreme kind of normal maps and kind of adjust the age as I need to. So those are just two attributes I decided to expose. I think I should be able to leave it pretty much how I exported it, but just to kind of play around with that option, I wanted to figure out how to do that and make sure I understood kind of the way to do that. So back into Substance Designer real quick. This is actually what the graph looks like, and it gets really complex really quickly. So the this kind of spaghetti of connections here and nodes, it really is beneficial to use the add comments node, because going through this and preparing for the video, I was thinking, okay, well, I'll show them what parameter I exposed and where I exposed what, and really honestly the only one I can remember adding is the emboss node. And I could probably go in here and kind of figure it out, but I don't really have time for that right now. But yeah, so really key thing that I kind of learned in this whole process here is definitely add comments, just like in programming where you would add comments on code that you won't be revisiting for even a day or two. Sometimes you just get moving on to different things and you forget where you were at. Really important to use comments. So just add node here, add comment, and then just write whatever you gotta write. Drives. I believe this is the drives cracks. Just something simple like that, and that way when you're going through to your base level here, you can look. Oh, okay, that's what I have going for the normal depth or whatever it is. So yeah, it's really just as simple as that. Well, I say as simple as that, but yeah, as you can see, it's kind of a more complex graph. I wanted to say with something with stucco, you really can't. It's hard to do it wrong. Once you get the specular and normals correct, you can kind of just mess around and add noise as you kind of want, and just there's really no wrong answer to something that's noisy and kind of I guess depressed is what you might describe it as stucco. Stucco is kind of one of those materials that's just you can pretty much do a lot with. So yeah, I just got some noise being driven into all the different specular channels, and eventually into the normal maps. I figured out more about how to actually use the normal map node rather than the way I was doing it before. The way I was doing it before was kind of not really the best way to do it. So yeah, coming along here pretty quickly with the Substance Designer, pretty awesome. So next, the main thing here for wrapping up this farmhouse is just getting rid of some of the garbage in the hierarchy, cleaning up everything, getting all the geometry ready to export in a neat kind of way. Right now, everything is, because of my workflow, I'm left with a lot of polysurface stuff. So I'll end up with like polysurface number 56, or whatever, like this. Or pretty much all of my stuff, yeah, polysurface shape 256 51. So yeah, I end up with a whole lot of poly surface shapes, and I tend to not name stuff until I know that that's what I'm going to go with, because a lot of times as I'm kind of working on stuff, I'll tear it apart. I'll just tear faces right off of it, and there goes your naming scheme, and everything that you tried to keep neat is now just down the tube. So for me personally, it's best to just wait to organize my hierarchy right when I'm done. Usually I'll actually export, duplicate everything, export it, and then just go ahead and rename everything and put it in its proper groups and all of that stuff. And that way I know I have a piece of clean geometry that I can identify quickly and work with in Unity or whatever package I'm working in. So for this, real quick, I figured I'd just show this real quick and kind of show a neat feature in Maya that I'm sure most of you know about, but just so to clean this up, I have basically this this piece of geometry is just the stone foundation of the house, and all I did was just kind of sculpt a kind of stone wall inside of Mudbox, or inside of ZBrush, and then imported it into Maya, and then just took it and transferred normal maps. And I believe for this one, what I actually did was color the materials inside of Photoshop, and I actually used Dedo for that one. I used Dedo, and the way I did that is Dedo has a really unique way of or an awesome way of separating materials within the same texture. So basically, if you look at this, I just took this basically into Photoshop and kind of colored different rocks, right? So I got red where I want one type of rock, and then blue where I want another type of rock, and then in all the green areas is just all the grout. And in Dedo you can basically go through and kind of separate that out and add specific attributes to each specific texture attributes to each different color scheme. It just has to be a plain flat color, and then you can adjust it on the fly from there. And that's how I generated that. And that's why I say it's kind of really the easy button. It really is just simple to add in, a specific kind of texture from Dedo and just roll with it. And it's really easy to just it's really convenient to just be like, I'm just gonna let Dedo do it. But then you end up with kind of this kind of sameness about your stuff that is really just gonna look like everybody else's stuff that worked with Dedo. So I kind of, like I say, it's awesome, and I'm sure there's awesome ways of kind of going in there and modifying different stuff, and I do that. But it's too easy to just, I want to hurry up and move on to the next thing, so I'll just take the default grunge texture from Dedo, and I try to avoid that as much as possible. So that's why I'm choosing to go with the substance divider, and kind of that way it's just easier to adjust the final texture. So on this, basically all I'm doing is kind of splitting it in half, because I have a double-sided stone foundation here. And honestly, if only one side is exposed to the viewer, you don't really need both sides kind of plugged in there. That's extra geometry that's kind of being used up. So all I'm going to do is basically split that in half. And the way I do that is, what I wanted to do was kind of use this awesome new tool set that Maya has provided us with that allows you to constrain all your movements to a surface. So if you wanted to, you can just take this and just slide it around the geometry. Now, the problem with that is once you do that, your UVs are going to get screwed up, right? And I don't want to have to relay out UVs. So I'm kind of stuck with the old method. But the old method is just fine also. So basically what I do is just go through here. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I want to expose as much of this top as possible, so I can kind of, if I need to pull it out a little bit, I can pull it out and have some side room to play with, side, top, and bottom to play with. So basically I just want to move these vertices, slide them along the surface, and within Maya, of course, you have that preserve UVs button, or tick mark that you can use to kind of just slide your vertices along your surface without disrupting the surface too much. Now this has a limit. I mean, you can only do it so far. Like if you decide to do something crazy, it'll tell you like, oh, we can't preserve UVs because you've done something crazy. But generally, if you just keep it snapped to the curve, it has the same result as this kind of new tool set where it slides along the surface. So that's a really easy way of doing that and still being able to preserve the UVs. You don't have to be stuck with laying out the new UVs, just obviously snap to the curve, and basically relay out. I relayed out that entire line to expose, like I say, more of the sides and top, and then I just went through and just in the orthographic view selected all the faces and then deleted them. I mean, it's really that simple. But that was really essentially all I wanted to show, was kind of my workflow for that, and kind of reducing geometry a little bit, cleaning up the scene, cleaning up some of these parts, and making them more manageable within Unity, and enabling it to be instance. Like, I'm not going to import 4 sets of the same window. Obviously, I'm just going to put one set of that window in there and, you know, have it instance, so it's not, you know, taking up additional polygons that I don't need to be taking up. So that's that. That's really all I got for this one. Real short, sweet, and until next time. Hopefully the next time we'll have the farmhouse complete and be moving on to the next area, and we'll go from there. Thanks. Stay tuned. See ya.